Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jack, this is Jthbooks, and it is time for my top 10 books of the year so far. So, we're halfway through the year. That means we get to have a little chin wag about the books I have loved so far this year. Now, as you can see, I'm being very serious because I've got a shirt on, and you know I only dress up when it's serious. So no giggling in this video, like normal. But, I literally just giggled. That was stupid, wasn't it? I have read 51 books so far this year, which, yes, it does mean I'm behind on my reading goal of 110. But that's fine. That's fine. If you've been here before, you know I'm very behind in life. If you haven't, hi, welcome. Feel free to like and subscribe. But without further ado, well, no, let's actually have a quick chat. Because I feel like it's been a strange reading year for me, actually. I have really loved some books, but everything else has just sort of fallen by the wayside for me. Everything's been a bit sort of, I haven't loved it that much, or been a bit average. Normally I have a bit more of like should I put that on there, should I put that on there? This I was sort of struggling to get 10. I did, sort of struggle. I feel like there's a top 7 really that will probably be there at the end of the year, maybe even a 6, and then the other ones could change. They could come and go. We could be like, you're in the top 10, and they'd be like, bye, you're number 15 now. So I'm optimistic for the reading months ahead, and I really hope to find some books that I just am obsessed with, and I want to tell you about them, and that's what I'm hoping for. But let's start at number 10, shall we? So coming in at number 10, we have Private Rights by Julia Armfield. In Private Rights, we follow 3 sisters who are very much broken apart and not very sisterly, but they come back together after their fathers died to sort out the will. But the twist in this is it has not stopped raining for a long time. The whole world's changed, and it is basically the end of the world. Now, this has everything I have come to expect from a Julia Armfield novel. If you loved Our Wives Under the Sea, you will love this too, I think. It explores sister relationships, it explores queer love, and it explores familiar relationships as well, to be honest, with the father and the daughters, and it has a mystery of what happened to their mother. And I feel sort of the first 3/4 of this novel is sort of a really intense look at that relationship and how it has fallen apart and how they can't quite get it back together. And every so often you get a passage from the world, not from the world. I can't think what it is now. Or is it? I want to say the city, but I don't think that's right. It is. It's the city. Trust yourself, Jack. From the city, sort of highlighting the end of the world. And the sisters are so wrapped up in themselves and their feelings, and it sort of goes largely ignored until the end. I loved that you got a perspective from the city. I thought it was a really clever option for Julia to take. I loved how intense it felt. I loved how just sort of narrow-minded these sisters were. It was all about them and their feelings, and I think it was just a really clever choice that you had the end of the world looming over it. And then sort of the last quarter, when it comes into action, I think it's really clever. I think Julia Armfield really, really knows how to end a novel. And it's just a book I find myself keep thinking about, to be honest. I keep thinking, I just get me that clever choice of how narrow their view was. And I think it was really clever. It's number 10. I enjoyed it. Coming up at number 9, I actually don't have a copy of it because I borrowed it from the library, but it is Enter Ghost by Isabella Hamad. Now in this, we are following Sonia, who is returning to Haifa after sort of a disastrous love affair and having a break from acting. She returns to visit her sister in Palestine when she meets a lady called Miriam, and she ends up doing an Arabic version of Hamlet. Now, I read this for the Women's Prize for Fiction shortlist. It did not win. I kind of think it should have. I loved Brotherless Night that won too, but I just thought there was something special about this novel, and I'm not even sure what it was. It just gave me that feeling. I thought it just had an elevatedness to it compared to the other books in the shortlist. But I'll link that down below if you want to watch that reading vlog. But yeah, there was just something special about this. I loved the way Isabella Hamad played with form when they were learning the lines of Hamlet, how she made us as a reader read it as a script from what they were talking, all the characters. I thought that was really clever. It's obviously a very timely novel of everything that is going on right now, and it's great to lift up Palestinian voices. But yeah, I just absolutely loved this book. It just gave me that feeling, and that's really what I search for as a reader. I thought Sonia was a great character to follow, and I loved how the second half sort of turned into a discussion about the importance of protest and the powerfulness of the arts. I thought that was so clever, and it never lost the story. It had a found family vibe. You just wanted them to succeed putting on this play after all the trouble they were having. And it's just a book I find myself thinking about a lot. I'm going to probably say that about all of them, just to clarify. But yeah, I just thought there was something really special about this book. Coming in at number 8, we have Anyone's Ghost by August Thompson. Now in this we follow Theron, whose parents are divorced, and he goes to spend the summer with his father, where he gets a job and he meets Jake. It is the story of their friendship. It is the story of Theron's blossoming love for Jake, and it's a story of the end. That's all I'm going to say. I adored this book. I think why this makes my top 10 for the year so far is because of the way August Thompson took time to craft the friendship. This whole book is about friendship, and he gets it right. It happens gradually. You can feel as a reader it deepening, and you can definitely also feel Jake's sort of unrequited love for a really long time. And I just believed it. And I think it's such a wonderful thing to believe a book. I was not being told anything. I was being shown. I was being felt. Well, I was being made to feel the things. And what I like about it is it felt quite literary in a sense, but also it had a plot. It kept moving along. And it does come to a horrible end, to be honest. It had great bisexual representation, I thought. And there was a passage in it that just absolutely made me weep. It just made me weep. It was so beautiful. It was just beautiful. It's just, I just so appreciative to have read that friendship and how well it was done. And that is why this one has made it to number 8. Coming in at number 7, it is The Lost Love Songs of Boise Singh by Ingrid Purcell. In this, we follow 4 women who are all connected to the gangster Boise Singh, who is a real man. You can look him up. Like, what happens to him is a true story. And we get to know these women and their connection to him. And I think Ingrid does such a fantastic job with that. It's 4 perspectives. They're all so different. Listen, let's be honest. Sometimes when you read a book with many perspectives, you think, oh, go back to that one. I'm not keen on this one. I did not have that with any of these. I loved all 4. Each was so different. About sort of maybe halfway through, it absolutely devastated me. I had to put it down and be like, my goodness. It just absolutely captured me throughout. I loved it from the first page to the last. I really loved these women. I loved how different they were. I loved how their connection to him really sort of changed and faltered and grew stronger and grew weaker. I just think it takes a really skilled author to handle a book like this, and she's done it so brilliantly. I loved the writing. I loved sort of the frankness to it, yet the heart. I loved it. I loved it. I read it so quickly, and it's the biggest book on here. I just think she's so talented. I'll read I have read Love after this. Really incredibly enjoyed that too. It nearly made the list too, to be honest. I thought, can I have 2 of her books on there? But of course you can. I will just read anything she writes now. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for another book from her. Next up, we have The Unwielding by Marina Kemp. In this, we follow Zoe, who's a promising young writer, and she goes to spend the summer in Sicily with a very famous writer called Don and his family, and a host of other guests. And you follow his youngest daughter, Nimani's life and the family throughout the rest of her life as she reconnects and forms this friendship with Zoe. And my goodness, I love this book. It's number 6. I honestly think by the time it comes to the end of the year, it will be in the top 5. it is a book that has really stayed with me, although I have read it just recently. I think I loved Marina's first book, which was called The Nightingale. This one is even better. It is full of mystery and intrigue. You really sort of get these mysteries that unravel, and there's also a couple of spectres from Nimani's sister, which I don't want to spoil for you, but my goodness, that last one, you know, when a book is sort of building and building towards the end, and you think, oh, is it going to disappoint me? This one absolutely didn't. It really didn't. There was a twist I didn't see happening. It's not a thriller by any means. It feels really literary. It's written so beautifully. Marina Kemp is such an unbelievable talent. It just, listen, I've said this about other books on here. It just gave me that feeling. That's what I look for as a reader when I am excited to read it. I do not want to stop reading it. I want to see what happens. It just gives me this fuzzy feeling inside, and it gave it to me in spades. I love this book. If you have not read it, please check it out. I just think it was so brilliant. I keep thinking of that ending. I keep thinking of how Marina created these characters that you knew so well, but yet there was so much left unsaid about them. How their bonds break and how strong they actually are. I just loved it. I loved it. It's so good. This is the proof. I need to buy a finished copy. I want to sign one because I loved it. And you know, if I'm hunting for a signed copy of a book, I loved it. So now we're going to hit the top 5, and I feel like the top 5 really could sort of like jump around. Like one could be 1 a minute, and then it could be number 4. So we'll have to wait to the end of the year for the final official order. But let's talk about the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is Bad Habit by Alana S. Portero, translated by Mara Faye Leatham. In this, we follow an unnamed young trans woman who is growing up in a place that is not for her, and it is her story of her moving to Madrid and finding love for the first time. Now, the reason this has made the top 5 is because I think how Alana has written queer love is sort of unlike nothing I've read before. It so unbelievably moved me. I was reading it before I went to work, and it so made me cry that people asked me, like, even when I got to work, they're like, "Are you all right?" Because my eyes were all red. It was unbelievable. It just really captured that essence of first love and what a privilege it is to be straight and to be able to show it out in public without fear, without trepidation. It just captured sort of that, how important it is to have safe spaces for queer people. I loved it. I do think it lost a little bit of steam towards the end, I think, but the sort of the beginning and the middle is so glorious. It has so much heart and so much depth. It was beautifully written. It just made me cry. I loved it. I don't know what more to say. I just loved it. Again, it gave me that feeling. Then coming in at number 4, we have Evenings and Weekends by Oisin McKenna. This is set over one weekend in London during a heatwave, and we follow the perspective of 4 characters, and all I'm going to say is there's a whale. That's all you need to know. I think it's a really big undertaking to have sort of 4 perspectives that are linked as closely as these ones are, and I think McKenna handles it so well. This book has the kind of writing that I really like, that is sort of beautiful and honest and delicate, but somehow incredibly hard-hitting. That is my cup of tea. I absolutely love it. I love that you got different pieces from each perspective and could connect the dots together. I loved what he did with the characters. I loved how he explored their queerness and all their different situations. I loved how some of the characters sort of had this really sort of strong, you knew where they were ending, and some had sort of an openness that left you wanting more as a reader. You wanted to know. It was just so glorious. I just loved the way it all came together. I loved each different perspective. I love how he connected them. I just loved the writing throughout. It just felt like I was in London. It felt like I was living in a heatwave in London for the weekend. it just had a realness to it and a depth and a deftness, and I just loved it. I thought it was an incredible piece of work. Coming in at number 3, we have Blessings by Chukwuebuka Ibe. In this, we follow a young boy who gets caught in a compromising situation with the family's apprentice, and his father, despite his mother not wanting him to, sends the young boy off to boarding school, and it is a look at how that affects them both. What I really loved about this is how it captured the, if you're lucky, the safety and the importance of the connection between a mother and a queer son. I think this book really just captures that sort of, I will love you no matter what aspect to it. I will have your back. I will guide you through whatever you need me to. I will fight on your side. And it just made me think of my mum, and it just made me feel good. It just made me feel good. It's great to read that. It's not a book. It's a book that does not shy away from hard things. When he goes to boarding school, this boy, he definitely goes through some things. I will definitely say that. But to see another fantastic queer book coming out of Nigeria, I always think is a brilliant, brilliant thing. I loved each perspective. I loved that we got the mother's perspective and how she was dealing with it. I loved that it continued after boarding school and you got to see him grow into an adult and experience some joy. And it discussed the political situation for queer people in Nigeria. It was a book I was really, really looking forward to, and it didn't disappoint. Isn't that fantastic when that happens? And yeah, it's just another one that gave me that feeling. So here we are, the top 2, and coming in at number 2 is Mongol by Hanako Footman. In this, we follow 3 perspectives of 3 different women who are at different stages of their lives and how their stories interconnect. I really don't want to tell you any more than that because I think it will give too much away. But my goodness, I loved this book. How these perspectives come together, I didn't see coming. Maybe some other people, as they read it, will have figured it out. I did not. I think it was so beautifully written. It made me cry a lot from just its sheer beauty of writing. Like I said, I loved how it all came together. I loved that each perspective was so different. We're following women of Japanese descent. 2 of them now living in Britain and 1 still lives in Japan. And, it's just so glorious. I love the way it celebrated sort of queer love and how it discussed that. It was just it was so good. I can't tell you how much I think about this book. Like, it sort of came as such a surprise to me. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. I think it's a really incredibly strong debut. I actually think all the top 5 are debut books. Incredible. That is incredible. This is an incredibly strong book, and I loved it. I really loved it. I actually really love it a lot. Is it number 1? It's so good. And then coming in at number 1, we have Cinema Love by Jamin Tang. Now in this, we follow Old Second, who cruises for men in a working man cinema, and we also follow Bao Mei, who is the person who sells the ticket, and she protects the men inside. And when those 2 are brought together and are forced to emigrate to America, we follow their journey. Now, I loved this book. The first line made me cry. It just captures that sort of fearfulness and the desire to find love when you're a queer person and the lengths you'll go to take it. I loved the reasons why Bao Mei worked there and why she protected these men. I love how we got to follow these characters over decades. And what I will say about this book is the cinema in it is essentially a character in itself. It's at the heart and centre of the story, but it goes so far beyond what the synopsis says. It really takes these characters and characters that aren't mentioned on a story. And for me, when I read a book and it goes a bit beyond the synopsis or something that wasn't mentioned, I get a bit, this isn't what I signed up for. But I was so in this book, I was so in Jamin Tang's writing that I did not care. These characters felt so unbelievably real, and they were so focused and clear that I was just along for the ride. I loved the way ended, it just felt so real. I believed the connections all of these characters had. I believed their motives. I believed everything they were doing. I think it really sort of shows the struggle and the hardship of emigration and what it's like to be an immigrant. And it was just, not that I would know, of course, I'm just, that's how it made me feel. It was just incredible. It really was incredible. It was maybe my most anticipated book for the first half of the year. I wanted it to be 5 stars. It absolutely was. It's another one I find myself thinking about a lot. It gave me that feeling. So, yeah, I really, I keep saying it, but it is another one I loved. So there we have it, my top 10 books of the year. I think it's pretty clear what it takes to get on here. It has to give me that feeling. It's a feeling that I can't really describe or explain. I just know it. I just know it when I feel it, and it just means I'm loving it. It just means the book is something special, and all of these books gave me that feeling. So, I really enjoyed talking about those. I really enjoyed that. It's so much fun, and so it's just brilliant to talk about books that you love and you want to share and you hope someone might read them because of you. I think it's such a fantastic thing. Let me know if you've read any of these and you agree with me, or you can tell me if you don't. You can tell me nicely so I don't cry. Let me know your favourite book of the year. Let me know. I say it all the time. If you're new here, I say this all the time. Just have a chat with me in the comments. It's my favourite thing. Feel free to like and subscribe. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'm going to speak to you all really, really soon.